StarCraft 2 is work, and it is also his dream. That is the story of GuMiho, who after winning the GSL Code S this year finds himself as far as he's ever been in his long, illustrious StarCraft 2 career. This is the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series Global Finals. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Nathaniel, joined on the couch now by In Control, Maynard, and Rotterdam. GuMiho, such a lovable character, but and we talked about this in the opening week, he's never been the hero of the story of StarCraft.
Yeah, I guess I'll take this one. He's
not the hero of the caster scene either, so we're just like, take it away, Maynard.
He's been GSL champion before, but his fan base has never been up there with the likes of, you know, your innovations, with even your Marus. Like Maru, I feel like has had a bit of a fan base than GuMiho, and he's always been the guy up against the guy that has that fan base and that love and that support. And once again, it's happening again with so many people want soO to win this. They want that dream to come true for him to finally win the big one, but there you go.
It's tough when you got so many people cheering for the other guy, as he just doesn't. He never had the same level of support from the from the StarCraft scene in general.
Yeah, it's odd, right? Like we keep talking about Maru, we keep talking about Biana, obviously our previous world champion, and you have TY, you have Inno, but GuMiho is literally right there. He's absolutely the next in line if he's not part of that group already. But we still always talk about the 4 horsemen, the big 4 Terrans. But Gumi absolutely deserves to be part of that conversation, and he's looked good so far in this tournament because that group with Innovation and Serral was absolutely not an easy group. And even when he got cheesed in that final game in the final series, or game 1 of that final series, didn't look too flustered either. He bounced back incredibly well and played a fantastic game 2 and 3 against the best European Zerg.
That's also how he does it though. Like he's just a kind of quiet guy, loves StarCraft, plays and works really hard, but in his games, it's not the most mega convincing thing ever. It's like he'll do a weird build, he'll do some off timings, he is the guy that'll play mech where maybe it's not the most fashionable in the meta. Right now, of course, it is a little bit more so, but he's just he's an engineer of victory. Like, he just finds ways to win. He doesn't do it through raw mechanics.
I think a lot of people would bring up one of the weaknesses of GuMiho's style is that sometimes he can overly finesse his strategy, get a little too caught up in the intricacies of his builds. But in a matchup like this, going up against Zerg players this year, this has been the year to do mech builds versus Zerg. A lot of the patches lean towards it. We had the Thor change, and stuff like that has really opened things up for our Korean Terran.
And of course the maps as well, right? The maps are absolutely not horrible for him to play his style where he feels most comfortable. Like GuMiho is obviously a player with fantastic micro, otherwise you don't make it to this level. But I think what he excels at even more is finding all these cute spots to put tanks in a really good position, to put a Liberator slightly out of range, really good with setups, a little similar to TY in that degree. And I think these maps work well for him, and he's got to feel confident going into this best of 5. He's got a great record against soO, even in this year, not only the GSL victory, but multiple other very convincing victories over soO as well. You gotta love your chances if you're GuMiho.
And we're gonna segue now and talk a little bit about soO. Of course, everybody has heard this story. soO having a lot of second place finishes in top premier tournaments over his career, so many, but that means he still gets there, right?
Yeah.
We still know him to be that player who is going to knock everybody else out, at least on his way to the finals.
Well, that's what Artosa said to open up this whole day, was he talked about how there's 2 different soOs. There's the soO in the finals, which doesn't seem to be able to get over the hill just yet, but then there's the soO that gets his butt to the finals and he beats everyone along the way. And he is just kind of quietly that #1 or #2 Zerg in the world. Like, people tend to like Dark. When Dark's winning, it's a lot more flashy. When Rogue's winning, it's kind of the hot pick. But soO's just always there, just always doing really well.
Yeah, one thing though about soO is that I feel like, and it's brought up right here with that score, that his ZVT isn't as convincing as some of the other Zergs that have been in this tournament. And I feel like as a result of that, his ZVTs lately have been a little bit cheesy, a little bit all-in, timing-based. He's a little bit afraid of the super late game, especially against guys like GuMiho, who are almost certainly going to mech or play that really scary late game bio. We saw both styles from versus Serral at least.
Yeah, overall I think throughout the tournament we've seen a super aggressive soO, right? Game 1 against Nurture was hyper aggressive. After that there was quite some aggression as well in that best of 3. And then obviously the games against Neep, we were all super pumped for it. We're ready for it, hoping for another 1-hour slugfest. And suddenly we see super aggressive soO just closing the deal immediately. But like Jeff said, quietly, he's been there quietly. He made his way into the quarterfinals very convincingly, and I'm hyped for this one.
All right, should be an amazing match. It's going to be a GSL Code S rematch here in our second quarterfinal. Let's go to the stage for GuMiho versus soO.
Thank you very much, Nathaniel. It is indeed going to be a rematch of the GSL Season 2 Grand Finals. For our first player, he is a record-setting 6-time GSL finalist and one of the best Zerg players in the world. Give it up for soO! Facing soO is a GSL champion attending his first WCS Global Finals ever. He's hoping to make it to the top 4. Give it up for GuMiho! Will soO be able to get revenge, or will GuMiho reign victorious once more? Let's head over to our commentators in Total Biscuit and Pig to get started.
Thank you very much, Smix, and what a matchup we have coming up for you today. It is, of course, a rematch from the GSL Season 2 Grand Finals. We've got two very different players who followed two very different paths to get to this point.
Yeah, it's been a pretty long road, and I think a big kind of surprising return to huge form for soO this year. GuMiho, of course, for the first time here, looking at trying to make it through to the semi-finals of the WCS Global Playoffs. It's a massive moment for both of these guys, and there's such a great story here. You know, GuMiho, the guy who doesn't have that many fans, but soO here, so many finals, and only that one small championship in a Kesper Cup. If he could win here at BlizzCon at WCS, it would be incredible.
Yeah, we saw many times before him talking about rectifying his past mistakes, wanting to break that curse, as it were. And when we talk about GuMiho, I can only see parallels to last year's, of course, Grand Finals champion Beyond, a guy that just put his nose to the grindstone. He played every online tournament that was available, every small cup that he could, solely to get that practice, and he got there through sheer hard work. And he was able to finally achieve his dream with the GSL Season 2 Grand Finals win. And through the round of 16 in particular, we have seen a new, refined style of mech from GuMiho. He's always liked to play his own way, sometimes without success, but the way that he handled Serral in particular in the round of 16 was absolutely brutal to watch, even coming from an immense deficit to eventually win in an incredible comeback.
Yeah, he has just really defined his play. It used to be a chaotic player, as we saw there on screen. He used to play random about 6-7 years ago in the early pro scene, and he actually, in recent years, has redefined his style. He's still got that creative, unique flair in his builds, but he's actually gone back to basics, as we saw in the Signature Series video. He's actually changed his mouse settings completely. He's kind of redefined how he uses his keyboard, made it super efficient, and this is something which is very hard for a pro gamer to do so late in his career. But I think that's a big part of why we've seen such a resurgence in GuMiho's skill. He's suddenly come out there and he's keeping up mechanically with the fast-paced speed of guys like Innovation, guys like soO here today. And that's what gives GuMiho a really good shot in this match.
It absolutely does. And here's an interesting stat for you. What a lot of people might not know, they look at the statistics and they think, wow, soO with this many finishes, soO, such a well-known, incredible player. Surely, you know, he must have dominance over GuMiho. In fact, over the course of 2017, we have had GuMiho 20 maps up in competitive tournaments over soO. Like, literal nemesis right now. So I'm very interested to see if soO is able to somehow rectify that. And here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, fighting out of the northeast corner of Mech Depot in the blue trunks, playing Zerg, representing Ballistics, it's soO! Versus his opponent, fighting out of the southwest corner in the red trunks. Some call him the Tal Terran. You can call him your GSL Season 2 champion. Ladies and gentlemen, Psystorm's GuMiho!
been so focused here at this tournament. He's been training hard every single day. I know for a fact he's been going to sleep super early every day, waking up hard, and most importantly of all, in his online tournaments in the recent weeks, he has been hiding his build orders.
Yes.
He has been pulling out a lot of very generic, outdated opening builds, hasn't wanted to give anything away. Only last week did we start to see a glimpse into his repertoire. We saw incredibly powerful, aggressive mech. We saw strong bio play just filled with multi-prong harassment. It's going to be interesting to see what he pulls out here, as this is one of the really big maps. I'd love to see some of that more powerful, pushing, aggressive mech.
And he totally can do it as well. He has been refining that mech. He's been thinking, right, well, how quickly can I get up to +2 attack, for instance? What if I just did a single armory here? Just saying to himself, right, well, maybe a few less Hellions, maybe one more Thor here. Just mixing it up on a small level. And the interesting thing about a player like GuMiho is that he gains something of a reputation as a mech player. That's something you can exploit as a player. If you get a reputation, you can play into that, or you can play that against the opponent. You can use it as a bluffing technique to confuse them, to lead them astray.
soO, of course, just going to be taking a fast expansion, and GuMi showing that exact same low ground wall off we saw there at the Barracks and Factory. This is something which, in his, he used it over and over again in the group stage. Serral actually took advantage of this in game one of their series, did a proxy hatch Ravager rush and took him down. So this is something where soO, if he gets up against the wall in a series, all year long, he has always gone back to very fast Ravager pushes. He loves those all-in attacks to try and punish a greedy Terran. So definitely something he might think of mixing in a little bit later.
Well, this is a very tricky map to get a Reaper into a base, especially when you start off with 6 and the Queen there. That's a nasty choke point. There aren't too many ways you can go in there. So that is not going to work out so far here for GuMiho.
Very much a matchup of one player is the actor and the other is the reactor, and usually it is the Zerg who's the one who's reacting in the early stages. We're going to see Overlord speed coming out of soO, looking to see everything that's going on, and it's really up at the 3-base stage where soO starts to kind of define how he wants to play the game. And recently from soO, we've seen a lot of Mutalisk play. He's been going back to what he's been enjoying a lot of course, Hydralisk play mixed in, as that's kind of the standard at the moment.
Absolutely.
But against mech, he's definitely struggled, especially in their grand finals run-in earlier this year.
Yeah, it is tricky to deal with, and there's the third going down. Of course, he wanted to wait for Metabolic Boost to be ready, knowing, of course, that Hellions will probably be on the way, but he's going to attempt a denial anyway. Not a huge amount of damage coming out. Might want to make the Zerg player might want to wait for a couple more links. The problem is, of course, this could draw the defense away from the natural, so he's thinking, right, what do I do here? Do I want to try and save this space? Do I want to make sure that he can't slip in? But these are now Hellbats. That's nasty to deal with. And even we saw a Reaper grenade going down. A lovely cancel on the third base already.
He's just built a third Reaper as well. This is something you never see.
That's really interesting to see.
Hellbat Reaper, like this is such an odd composition. Obviously, already getting the cancel on the third. That's a nice pickup. He's going to be getting +1 vehicle weapons, so going to be adding in Cyclones, going to that battle mech style behind this very aggressive pushing style. Zerglings getting some nice damage on that reactor. The Hellbat's going to try and counterattack to punish this move. Not a lot of Queens, not much transfuse between them.
And the grenade's going to be interesting because, of course, they can disrupt the formation. They can make things very messy indeed, especially to disrupt his Zergling surround. And here we go. He's going for the mineral line right now, holding off the Queens into the corner. They don't have anywhere to run. One falls down. Another will fall very, very shortly. Transfuse engine on there, like huge grenade detonation right there. Just softening up those drones. If he gets just one good hit, that could be devastating. But here come the Ro8 reinforcements. So far, soO holds this off pretty well indeed.
Does lose a fair amount of mining time, but keeps the drones alive. That's the most important part there for soO. As Overlord seeing the Cyclones, he knows he's going up against mech now. He sees the extra factories going down, and this was not a light investment from GuMiho, but remember, still no third base on the way for soO. He's definitely knocked soO back, and his own third command center is already almost finished. So I think the problem here for soO is, of course, no tech. And he's saying, you know what? Let's just make Ravagers, let's make Zerglings, let's try and get some damage done. And I don't think there's any Siege tanks out just yet for GuMi.
No, there's one on the way, but it's just a couple of Cyclones. That's not enough to hold a push like this. This could be quite tricky. It could do quite a lot of damage. It looks like he may have found a window whilst GuMiho was attempting to transition and really get the mech rolling, where he could do some damage. Only a single bunker up there. Nothing really in it. Let's see, and here we go. Down come the corrosive files. A lot of workers pulled off the line to hold that bunker. That Siege Tank is out, though. This might just be the timing that GuMiho needed to hold this.
On any other map, this sort of push can be very hard to stop. But here on Mech Depot, that is a tight ramp with these big, thick buildings in the front. They've got a massive hit point pool. I think soO's just going to have to back off and settle for denying the third.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to see him going up for that technology now. He's not going to stay on Ro8 Match for too long, which is a good thing. Certainly with the tech of Mech on the way, you can't just stay with such low-tech units. Armor on the way right here for GuMiho as well, fully committed to that Mech style. The question is, what kind of mix are we going to see out of GuMiho? We say Mech, there's 1,000 different ways to play it, and I'm pretty sure that GuMiho knows 999 of them.
Indeed. Interestingly, going for the vehicle armor rather than the +2 weapons.
Yeah.
Not something we see every day now. That is, of course, going to boost the effectiveness of the flying units, medevacs, liberators, as well as, you know, knocking a little bit of damage off things like Hydralisks, Zerglings, but not so important against things like Roaches and Ravagers. So, bit of an odd choice for Gumi. For now, he's going to be keeping up this aggression with just a little bit of a Cyclone drop. Might try to hunt down those Ravagers, or just have a bit of a poke around.
Yeah, nice little pick off on that Ravager at the back would be nice, but he doesn't want to take the risk at the moment. And interested to see where this ranged attack upgrade for soO is going here.
Looks like, you know, Roach Ravager going to be the core of the defense for now. soO's goal, of course, to get up to a 4th base, get up a big, nice bit of economy. Gumi just trying to be as annoying as possible with such a small number of units while setting up this push on the bottom side of the map. He might get into a dangerous position here.
Oh, here we go. Look at the setup on that 3rd base. There is a lot of nasty mech in there and 3 tanks on the support. Plus, of course, that Cyclone with the maneuverability of the dropships. And here they go, focusing down, trying to make sure those tanks don't go down. He wasn't quite able to protect that one at the back, but how much damage can be done here? So far, soO holding, but now his lines are starting to break. Those Cyclones with that tank DPS just a little bit too much for what soO has. He may very well be able to focus down the 3rd base, and that's exactly what he's trying to do. The hatchery falling down. Where are those reinforcements on the Zerg? They're not quick enough.
He can't afford to lose that hatchery, but he's just got nothing left. Those tanks have dealt massive damage throughout. The hatchery is going to fall.
Lovely.
Gumi with a beautiful, sweet spot timing.
Absolutely.
And he takes a massive advantage.
Phenomenal start there for GuMiho to be able to take that 3rd out with so few casualties, using his medevac to keep those Cyclones alive, backing it up with yet more Cyclone DPS, very effective. A GG!
Opening
with the 3rd down.
Wow.
soO didn't really have much of a choice at that point, losing the 3rd at that stage after already having it denied and being so behind on tech. He said, like, it's not worth dragging this out any further, and I'm not going to be able to stop what's coming my way anyway. So says, all right, okay, we're going to reset, come up with a new game plan.
That's the power of GuMiho. He forces you into an uncomfortable situation. He is always the guy who finds a way to make his form of aggression just that little bit different, adding in those Reapers a little bit later, making that very fast held out push, of course, knowing that he could use the Reaper grenades to just destroy those Queens off creep. If they went up that ramp to defend that 3rd, they were toast.
Yep, you could have knocked them off there, and they would have never got back to creep. They would have been far too slow. The Hellbats would have nailed them down very, very easily. What an interesting opening there, and yet another variant on this style. GuMiho seems to have an infinite set of different little tweaks and changes that he can add to an already very dangerous style. He's keeping soO guessing there, and losing, what do you think was the most critical point of that game? Because I'm thinking, you know, getting that 3rd denied, frankly, so easily was absolutely crippling for soO.
This is one of these things, you know, Zerg's going for Overlord speed. They're like, hey, I'm going to scout you. Gumi finds a window to attack before the scouting has even really kicked in. This is one of these things where he says, well, you're always going to invest this money in something, but I'm going to hit you before that even really matters. It's this awkward timing. It works very well on that map. I think that combined with the fact that then soO, he kind of tried to counterattack with his speed lanes. He said, well, I'm going to counterattack you. He lost a ton of mining time on that natural, a couple of Queens, and I think on top of that, soO going for the Ravager Zergling didn't really get any damage done on the return, and that put GuMiho in a perfect position. Sealed the deal with that push. Just a very impressive play dictating game number 1.
Absolutely. Great defense there by GuMiho, but maybe a little bit map specific. Will he be able to do that again as we move in right here to our 2nd map of this best of 5 series right here in the round of 8. It's Abyssal Reef, ladies and gentlemen, fighting out of the southeast position in the blue trunks, currently down 1 map, playing Zerg for Ballistics. It's soO. And to the northwest position in the red trunks, currently one map up, looking once again perhaps to make it happen. Your GSL Season 2 champion, GuMiho!
Whoa!
Hello, hello!
This is madness right now. We've got a proxy barracks going down right underneath that Overlord. I cannot imagine GuMiho was expecting soO to go with this Overlord path. He must have thought he was going to go in a different direction, scout the edges. Now it's been spotted immediately. How is GuMiho going to adjust?
3 SCVs pulled off the line, though. You know, big commitment here, but 3 drones brought in to match up. Fingers crossed, SCVs can repair each other, you know, so in theory, that should be a good fight for the SCVs, but another drone brought in as well. And what do you do from this position when your proxy racks are scouted so quickly?
It's so important that he at least lets it finish so it puts on some pressure, because he can get a Reaper out there, and that's something, thankfully, he does. Now he can get the factory behind this as well. I don't think this was his initial plan, but he's taken the gas. He says, okay, I can get out of Marine, get out of Reaper. I've got something going. I can open up my tech from here. It's not a complete disaster. soO, on the other hand, he's feeling good, man. He's got the pool first up. He's got his queen on the way. His natural's going down. soO knows everything that's going on right now.
Yep, soO did lose a bit of mining time, having to pull 4 drones off, but you can't undercommit to that. As we saw, there were 3 SCVs coming across the map right there. It could have very easily been another barracks backing that up, something unpleasant. Could have attempted to put, say, a bunker at the bottom of the ramp, try and soft contain. So he did the exact right thing. And this is not a complete loss. This is not the kind of situation where, like, oh no, I built the barracks across the map, game over, might as well try again. No, you can do something with this, you can float it back, you can go into something else. Let's see what he's able to get done with it.
And this Reaper coming in would love to scout the Roach Warren that's going down, because it is looking like soO wants to do some form of counter-aggression.
soO wants it away, though.
You know, the weakness here from GuMiho is his material, his material-producing structure, his barracks. It's on soO's side of the map. That cannot really build defensive units. GuMiho is building multiple Reapers and trying to get a factory up at home. But the threat of a Roachling, just in terms of raw meat, is going to be so hard to deal with when you've got almost no unit-producing structures at home. Yeah,
that factory is a good way away from finishing, and it doesn't build units all that quickly. You may have to pull those Reapers back. He perhaps was hoping just to try and keep soO at home with a few Reapers, saying, look, you can't leave because I could do quite a lot with this. But a couple of things across the map, that's destructive. Look at it. He gets a free SCV because it just happened to finish on the wrong side of the wall there. A Reaper comes back trying to deal with it. soO trying to rescue that. There's more Lings on the map, and speed about 5 seconds away from finishing. Those Reapers that might want to get out of there pretty quick. And look at that Roach push. Man. 7 on the way. This is going to be a nightmare defense scenario here for GuMiho.
He has no idea it's coming just yet. Oh, he's going to bypass those Lings, but I mean, he's got his barracks landed on the 3rd. He has no bunker on the way. He's on 1 base, so he probably thinks, hey, I'm on 1 base, I'm being kind of safe.
He's building a reactor as well. He can't even build defensive units. And it's really like, that's a lot of Lings, but I don't even think he hasn't seen the Roaches at all. Bear in mind, his scout of the Roach one was denied in the first place.
Those Roaches are already about to be knocking on the front door. Everything going wrong here for GuMiho. He gambled on that proxy barracks, but soO lucked out with the Overlord path and now is looking to punish. Roaches and Ravagers gonna press in, and he wants to finish the game right here. There's nothing behind that wall.
No, he's working on Liberator, but it's at least 30 seconds away from finishing, and that's GG, ladies and gentlemen. He rolled the dice, and unfortunately it was snake eyes right there for GuMiho. soO takes full advantage of it in the best way possible. Equalizer. That's the kind of thing, you know, you're a map up, you can take that kind of risk. If it works, great. Maybe you get a second map out of that. It doesn't, well, reset the series. Now it's a best of 3.
GuMiho there, no doubt a little bit annoyed that soO changed up his Overlord path. This is one of those builds, you watch a bunch of the other players' games, you say, his Overlord's always going these paths, this is the sweet spot for my proxy barracks. And it's in that high-pressure tournament game where the Zerg switches it up, says, I'm going to be safe, I'm going to change up my paths, might catch you out. Happen to see that proxy barracks, and a very, very good opening there for soO. And a decisive way to clean up the game as well. Just did the math, said, your barracks is on the wrong side of the map, mate. I'm going to finish you off.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do about that? I mean, even if GuMiho had immediately started building factory units, would that be enough to hold that? Probably not. You know, there's no real way he could have actually done that other than maybe slap down a few more barracks. And even then, you know, his tech's massively behind where he wants it to be. soO basically has free reign to expand while the Terran player is bottled in his base. It was just not a good start. And it was a risk. You know, he really did take a gamble on that. It did not pay off.
And of course, bunkers normally the linchpin of any Terran defense. GuMiho not quite able to pull it together in that one, but it is still 1-1. This is a best-of-5 series, and both players, of course, going into the next map. It's going to be very interesting to see what styles they're going to pull out. So far, we've seen an inclination towards mech in that game 1, but we haven't really gotten to the mid-game. We haven't had a chance to see exactly what is the long-term plan of both of these players. How are they going to play out that mid-game style? Are we going to see any curveballs compositionally? Or is it going to follow the theme of so far's WCS playoffs so far today? Is it just going to be a lot of aggression, a lot of in-your-face trying to finish each other off?
It could very much be, especially with soO in the mix. There's no doubt about that. soO is hardly what I call a passive player, to say the least. And honestly, he has revenge on his mind. He is quite sick of losing to GuMiho. It's been happening all year. He got yet another grand finals denied by GuMiho. He would really like to make his way through the round of 4 on, as we mentioned, you know, an interesting side of the bracket where he has a very good shot. Anyone on the side of the bracket has a great shot to get into the grand finals at this point. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, as we move into Ascension to Aya, to the southeast position, playing Zerg, having equalized the series 1 apiece in the blue trunks. For Ballistics, it's soO! Versus his opponent to the northwest position. He rolls the dice, it doesn't work out. Let's see what he can bring out of the bag. In the red trunks, playing Terran, Psystorm, GuMiho!
The one Terran that dares to innovate and always strikes out on his own, creates new styles. Always someone who I love to watch because he always has that unique take on approaching every single map and matchup. Always the guy who, I think we were laughing about it yesterday watching some of his games. You'll see him there with like a Cyclone, a Marine, a Reaper, and an SCV and a Medevac, just harassing a Zerg. We saw it in game 1, that double Cyclone drop, pulling him out of position, allowing him to siege up the third. He's just a master of using every little piece he has on the map.
Yeah, there is no doubt about that, I think, and that's what makes him one of the most interesting players to watch. And I have to say, as much as was mentioned by some of the guys on the couch earlier, they might not have the biggest fan base. I hope this is the tournament where he's able to gain more of that. I've absolutely loved watching him over the course of the year, and it's been very easy to do so because he's played in basically every tournament that has ever existed.
He has been winning a lot of online tournaments. He has been grinding hard, getting every little bit of competitive practice he could.
Yep.
And here, Ascension to Aya. This is a map which was vetoed by Special in that previous series today. But both players happy to play on it this one. It is a map where we actually saw one of the most epic games of their grand finals, with battle cruisers actually sealing the deal against soO here, back in the GSL.
All right, here comes that factory. Reaper on the way. Sixlings right out of the bat. soO is not going to mess around with that. Always grabbing that speed, always giving himself that aggressive option. If you ever see soO go for that early third hatchery, either it's a pocket expansion map or it's probably not soO. He's been replaced by some sort of alien doppelganger. Trust me, he is an aggressive player. He likes to make those lings work for him early on and ensure that his opponent can never get too comfortable.
A player who I know I used to follow as a Zerg player and always look up to copying some of his builds. One of the most decisive Zergs out there. Always finds those moments where a lot of other players would pull back and defend, and that's where soO will commit, find an opening and finish his opponent before the game drags on. He's a big fan of...
Uncharacteristic error from GuMiho losing that Reaper. Literally no excuse for that.
That's not meant to happen at all.
No, no. Hopefully that's not indicative of GuMiho starting to shake it up a little bit. That's not good. This is not the stage on which you want to start losing your nerve.
GuMiho known to be a little bit less consistent than someone like soO, who's just solid as a rock up until the grand finals usually, but he really has been becoming more and more steady. So Reaper there, you know, it slows down his Hellion aggression, makes it a little bit weaker, but I don't think it's going to take too much of an edge off. Already, you were talking about those Zerglings, John. We've got 14 in the production tab, and this is a great map to go around the edges. It's very hard for the Terran to spot you coming, and you can just flood into that natural expansion. So good chance we're going to see a big Ling run by
And yeah, he's going to have to pull those Hellions back if he wants to defend against that. Otherwise, we could see yet another very quick game here. Those two Hellions are certainly not going to be denying that third anytime soon, but those Lings are going to be denying a lot of mining time. Here they go. It is an all-you-can-eat buffet in the mineral line of GuMiho, and something's got to be done about that quickly.
And a Raven is not really going to help too
Not
much with that.
really.
It's all about the Hellions. But goes for the wraparound. Oh,
Gives him the slip. Can he get out of there? He loses one. He needs to keep every one of these alive if possible. So far, he hasn't lost too much on the resource side of things, but there are still Lings, and look at all of that lost mining time in particular. A very disruptive play. I think he felt as soon as he took the Reaper down, he had free reign to get aggressive. He did a little bit of damage there. He drones up a little bit behind it, and GuMiho now on the defensive, not in a position where he's all that comfortable.
And we've got Zerglings hiding on both sides of the map, ready to run in and backstab. soO here, he sensed weakness, but then he switched gears very quickly. He said, look, there's 5 Hellions together. Let's pull off, split a few Lings into the natural, hit the other ones, and now he's waiting because he knows that as a Terran player, GuMiho has pressure on him to move across the map and to try to put pressure on. Otherwise, soO's creep spread will get too far out. So now he's sending some Zerglings home to defend, but he's keeping some hidden in the top of the map. GuMiho, he's hunting for them with his Hellions, but he actually didn't find them, and I think now the Hellions are going to go across the map.
Yep, keep a close eye indeed on the north of that map. As soon as that blue dot starts to move, there could be some trouble. And that doesn't do an awful lot of damage at all, just a little bit of a annoying auto turret harass right here. And here come the Zerglings. And once again, nothing really to defend it. And that's, look at how many red health workers you've got there, but the auto turret doing a pretty decent job of defending that, trying to drag another Ling into that, does an effective job of it. We see 2 workers going on either side. There we go, here comes the cavalry. That's going to get cleaned up, but it's not what GuMiho wants. He doesn't want to keep having to run backwards. It's allowing soO to get that tech up that he was previously denied, and he's not able to really bring the pressure on the Zerg.
Even psychologically, the effect that has, where as a Terran, you just don't know what's going on the other side of the map. It's a big, dark mystery. Is there another wave of attack coming? Do you have to play safe? Can you get away with expanding really quickly and just powering up in that economy? It's so hard for GuMiho to know right now. He just doesn't have that information. Meanwhile, soO soaring ahead, going into those range carapace upgrades and just going straight into Hydralisk tech.
Massive difference in workers right now. Currently, 20 the economy of soO, looking nice and handy. And honestly, the harassment has not been too devastating at all. We've seen a few workers even there, but here we go. Big Hellion run by, maybe this is the equalizer he's looking for right here. Gets some good shots off that. 6 workers down already. A few more in the corner. A nice little barbecue here. A good investment from GuMiho. This is where he's more comfortable. It finally gets nailed down there.
Great micro from soO. The way he just wrapped those Zerglings around, he kept adjusting them so the Hellions couldn't wriggle out of there. Does shut that down. 9 workers, you know, not a bad trade for GuMiho, but
not as much as he would have liked, though. You know, it's a bit dangerous, and you know that's a bulk of an army that you could have been building to do a big push. And now again, soO has free reign for a little bit.
More and more Hellions are coming out. Blue Flames on the way, as well as 1-1 out of the double armory. GuMiho, of course, going to be looking to take his 3rd base soon and explode. I think we are going to get to see some of that 8 factory mech that we love so much.
Yes.
That hard pushing style. The auto turrets continuing to find lost mining time, but soO, so hot on his reactions, is not really losing drones to this. That Raven only at 3 kills.
Yeah, not particularly great. It is, of course, forcing soO to pull off the lines. That's in itself quite disruptive, but it isn't the damage that GuMiho is looking for, and that, as a result, soO is still economically ahead. That 3rd base is now down for the Terran player. This is where he can really start to ramp up. He's got a lot of upgrades currently in the oven. Needs to get those done, but I'm concerned about that Hellion count. It's going up. It's not going up all that quickly compared to the Hydralisk count. We're looking at centrifugal hooks about to be ready. Double upgrades here for the Zerg player. Muscular augments are already done. Is this the time when soO decides he wants to do damage?
Interestingly, no Swarm Host or Viper Tech out just yet for soO. Focusing heavily on this mid-game of Hydra, Ling, Bane. I think he knows that GuMiho is such an aggressive player, is someone you've just got to stop in his tracks. Don't focus on rushing to the late game. Just make sure you've got enough units and you're covering all of your economy here in the middle stage. If you can do this, you're not going to give GuMiho that chance to get on top of you, and you're going to be able to slowly choke him out in the long game. But GuMi showing some uncharacteristic patience, just poking around. And these Hellions being very careful. They don't want to get trapped.
Yeah, well, he could get some Hydras from this, and that, that's 100 gas just down immediately. Blue Flame at 1-1. That suddenly caught soO off guard. It's like didn't expect things to go down that quickly. Hydra's quite vulnerable to this in this current state, and as a result, look at those tanks. The tank production is obscene right now from GuMiho, and he's gonna need it because that is a massive wave of Zerg coming in his direction.
This is not a sort of push you see very often, just pure Hydra Ling Bane. The Banelings, of course, wanting to connect with those Hellbats, and the Hydras wanting to clean up everything else. Siege tanks do not get bonus damage to those Hydralisks because they are light, but the tank positioning is pretty damn good for GuMiho right now.
That's going to be very, very hard to break one way or the other. The Banelings getting targeted down. That was absolutely worthless there for soO. He takes serious damage to that point defense drone really coming into play here as well. GuMiho looking a lot better now with a solid defense. Look at his work account. Now he's ahead of soO. He's in his comfort zone at this point, and now I'm starting to get a little bit worried for our Zerg.
Yeah, and this is characteristic soO. He goes for these attacks which no one else really sees the strength in, and sometimes he just kills people. But he's going to shut down this one. Good defense, a few Banelings going down, so it's not like it's a bad trade for GuMiho. That actually does cost a lot if you've got to use Banelings to clean it up. So not bad there, but yeah, definitely soO a sort of player. He goes for these big mid-game assaults. Was not expecting to see a PDD, a wall of depots, an engineering bay, and 7 siege tanks in a perfect spread.
Not. And you can't blame him. And that's his answer. Swarm host. Now, we have seen that, this is a good answer to mech. It's an excellent answer to mech. And in many ways, a lot of people said, well, that's why mech is not viable. But we clearly saw in the round of 16, when GuMiho played against Serral, that was not the case when dealing with GuMiho. He figured that out. He was able to deal with it. He can come back from a huge deficit against Swarm host. Will he be able to do it again in the Swarm host in the hands of soO? That's a different matter entirely.
It really is a battle about map control, and that's what GuMiho is fighting for here with these bits of harassment. He's trying to keep soO
very nice.
And that's a very, very good trade.
Yeah.
8 worker kills.
For 3, lovely. He's going to absolutely be happy with that. And this is the interesting thing now. This is a lot of damage, but it's a lot of damage in one place.
Those Swarm hosts, as the creep spread gets out, they're going to be able to rotate between different areas of the map very quickly. Throw locusts on one side and then quickly move to the opposite side of the map and throw the locusts there. GuMiho, of course, going to be fighting this defensive battle, trying to hang on against this. Oh, he's actually got a lot of Hellions out here. There aren't too many Hydralisks. GuMiho forced those locusts to be launched very early.
Yeah, that wasn't nice at all. The locusts end up landing on something at the front there, which means that, of course, they can be kited effectively by those Hellions. Did a good job of basically wasting all of that energy and that all-important cooldown. So he knows he's got a good 40 seconds before he gets hit again. An attempt to breach the wall, defended quite nicely, can easily rebuild that. And what he wants to do now, track those Swarm hosts down, somehow get a killing blow. There's so much invested in that.
This mass Hellion play is really the linchpin in GuMiho's style. He loves to be able to pick the Zerg apart on the edges. Come in with these large amount of Hellions. They're cheap, expendable units. They don't cost any gas. And that allows him to trade with the Zerg, keep him back, keep the creep back, and also limit the effect of those Locusts. The Locusts are light units. They disappear to those Blue Flame Hellions. And
Thor is here.
Ooh.
Open fire. The question is, are there going to be enough Hydras to deal with that? There will be a quick evacuation then. Here comes the cavalry. Those Hydras need to get their hell out of there. They will not survive that kind of firepower for very long. And let's see what kind of push he can make out of this. Where are those Swarm hosts? Where are they going to engage? They may have to be used defensively here. Oh, those Hydras completely surrounded. They don't get a chance here, and they're going to get obliterated. And even if he gives up the Hellions to do that, that's well worth it. Those are gas-intensive units that went down.
He just didn't have any Banelings. Banelings are the answer to the Hellions with this style. That is how you make this Hydra Swarm host style work. The Hellions just whittling down a huge number of Hydralisks there. The Siege Tank's going to come down on top of this base, pushing in. If he can take this out, this is going to be a really good pickup for GuMiho.
We've got a few Hydras on the board right here. Let's see if he can take that base out and get out without taking too much damage. He did lose the Thors. That was a bit of a mistake. He could have evacuated them. He's got a few Hellbats at the front. He's actually going to go for the base. He's going to try and harass at this point. He's got his Vikings at the front, trying to keep track of where exactly those Swarm hosts are. Here comes the drop, not really a lot to catch with him. Couple of Hellions coming in to distract. The tank has taken out the base very, very nicely indeed. He's looking for some juicy hits, and the question is, what's he going to do from here? Is he going to continue to march forward? Because look at those Locusts, they could decimate those tanks. He needs to get out of there right now. He loses all of the tanks. The rest, however, did manage to evacuate.
Good play from Gumi. I was watching, I was like, where are those Vipers? soO knew the Vikings were in position on the north. He took his time, he went all the way around the south side. He arrived, and there was only 2 siege tanks left. GuMiho had already taken out the base, evacuated with most of his army.
He's trying to get on top of the swarm host right here. If he can get a scan, if he can get a good siege tank shot in, they will evaporate very quickly, and soO knows it. soO needs to get the heck out of there. There is so much invested in those swarm hosts. Some good shots coming off. They're not going to die too quickly, the Hellions, but they will die eventually. 1 roast, 2 roast. There's a choke point. He wants to get out of there. Oh, wow, this is turning into an absolute slugfest from both sides. They're going to cut the map in half, and we're entering into late game mech versus swarm host and Viper.
Yeah, we got the Tech Lab starport up there.
Look at that, +2. We got the fusion core. Where are we going from here?
It's going to be range lives or BCs. I'm open for some more BCs. For now, it looks like with the double reactor setup, he's just waiting, you know, saying, okay, more reactors. He's getting the advanced ballistics, the Liberator range now, so GuMiho going to be setting up for that stage of the game. Looks like he's not too keen on battle cruisers right now. Just going to stick to this heavy Hellion style. And both players securing a massive income. The bank's starting to rise. This is where we get into an efficiency war. I'd love to see that unit's loss tab just to see how it's going so far.
Here we go to the southeast. We got another wave of locusts coming in. A lot of Hellbats transformed here to try and defend that line of siege tanks, which they effectively do. Usually you'd see a tank or 2 really go down there, but that was nicely defended nonetheless. It's something that the Terran player must always keep in mind. And there is your unit's loss tab.
Very, very efficient there for GuMiho so far.
Absolutely.
But now that the Vipers are out, you know, it's the Zerg spellcasters that usually start to swing things in the opposite direction. So we'll check in on that again in a few minutes. We'll see how that's progressing. GuMiho wanting to push through the center of this map. If you control the center, it can give you some big power. Yet again, another Viper flank. He's trying to avoid the scans, come in from an unexpected angle, and cover that army in blinding cloud. If he can pull this off, soO will be able to shut this down.
That would be a crushing victory. Here they come in from the south right now. Will they be able to do it? The defense is out of position, but huge amounts of tank fire, and the PDDs deployed. The Locusts get barely anything done, landing the Vikings here. Parasitic bomb in the middle of them, though. Again, the Zerg driven back, but at a significant cost to the Terran player. But look at this, 4 Liberators at a time coming out with the upgrades. An effective way, perhaps, to clear out those swarm hosts.
That was such a quick land with Gumi to avoid those parasitic bombs. Great moves by GuMiho. He's still got a big army, but of course his army is more fragile. He can't reproduce as quickly as the Zergs, and soO's army, I mean, of course, can be built quicker with that big bank he's got. These swarm hosts looking a little bit ballsy there.
Careful now, another wave of locusts coming in. Not enough Vikings to stop that from happening. Here come a couple of Hellbats. He's trying to move in, but again, those point defense drones proving absolutely crucial, but that defense might just not be enough. The Zerg trying to crack it as best he can, but driven away with costly engagements on both sides.
soO wanting to push GuMiho away from this base, and I think he's almost done it here. Yeah, GuMiho has to give up. He has to unsiege from that high ground and pull back. He needs to wait and rebuild that army count. We have a ton of Liberators coming out right now.
And not a lot of Corruptors either. You got to bear that in mind. There's not a great deal to be able to take those down. This could be a nice transition that soO has started to prepare for, but might not be prepping fast enough.
1 siege tank left behind by his comrades does go down. Swarmo's going to continue to throw locusts. Hellions coming in for a counterattack. These are the sort of moves GuMi needs to keep doing.
Big one. Huge shots. That most of that mineral line is getting cleared out right here. They're landing on top of the mech army. Some damage done, but most of that's going to get cleaned up. And of course, now with the big transition through the Liberators, those locusts are not going to be so useful. And of course, that army has got to be in one place, and that's the kind of damage you can do when the army is out of position. We see yet more workers falling, the economy of soO taking some damage.
Great plays by GuMiho. This is how he makes this style work. He sets up one very scary push on the front, and it allows his counterattacks to do damage. This one, not going to be quite as effective.
Now, a lot of Hydras there, well upgraded. They were able to deal with that. Now we see the Corruptors are out to try and deal with those Liberators, but still not a huge number of them yet. Their DPS is not that high. With 9 Liberators and only 5 Corruptors, you would expect them to go down, but only slowly. They'll get those shots up. There will not be enough to completely crush that. He's actually adding another Spire on there, so we're going to see double upgrades, possible Broodlord transition.
It's an odd style. The number of Liberators he's going to, this is not just a handful.
This is very high.
This is like mass Liberator transition. He's still going to have a ton of Hellions, a couple of Thors and tanks on the ground, but he might just have so many Liberators that there's not enough of Ducks and Corruptors to deal with them, as you said. And it's an interesting change up here. Of course, GuMi way ahead on those air upgrades. He's got 3-3 almost done. whereas +1 flyer attacks is the only upgrade finished for soO's Corruptors.
Yeah, bear in mind, you might be thinking, well, those Liberators are not going to deal well with the Corruptors. Yes, but they are backed up by Vipers. There's a lot of them. They have +3 and the Yamato Cannon upgrade, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to see a potential battle cruiser transition behind all of this. Oh my.
That's what we want to see. We want to see those teleporting battle cruisers. Last time these two players played on this map in an important match, it was in that GSL Grand Finals, and it was actually battle cruiser harassment which picked soO apart, teleporting battle cruisers onto mineral lines in the middle of fights, blasting those workers down. Looks like today, though, GuMiho is getting a lot done with his Liberator and Hellions, constantly finding an angle, sieging up that mineral line. Corruptors are going to clean it up, but he's just one bad run by away from losing that economy.
And I'm concerned about soO's number of Corruptors. He's going to need an awful lot more than that. It's almost like GuMiho's trying to play him for a fool here, saying, oh, I'm going Mass Liberator, when in reality, he tries to take it down. Can he get the blind before it's no repair? No repair.
Oh, man.
Huge pick off and a mistake there from GuMiho.
That hurts. That one stings.
It does. It definitely does. He'll be able to lift up another one to move it across, but that will take some time. He's looking for a vengeance with some Blue Flame Hellions with +3, but already evacuating the majority of that, and a great surround there with the Hellions, with the Hydralisks on the Hellions. They'll go down, but another tank run by. You don't hear that very often. He goes in, he eliminates the base very easily. The BCs are slowly being produced.
This creep spread might just be a little bit too much, so this is one thing where GuMiho actually doesn't have that crazy stack of orbital commands back home.
True.
He's been dropping a lot of mules because he's building so many Hellions, and because of that, he doesn't have enough energy, or at least he's been neglecting using those scans to clear up the creep, and especially the creep on the edges is getting over into GuMiho's side of the map, and that's a very dangerous thing to have happen to you as a Terran player.
As you can see there, Liberators Unsieged are actually very effective against flying Locusts, simply because they have that AoE attack. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but with +3 and in large numbers, it can clean them up before they land. That's proving quite effective. It might get to the point where soO says, you know what, I don't think these swarm hosts are really going to work anymore. I've got too immobile an army. My supply is tied up in something that's not doing much. This could be a problem for me.
That Liberator continuing to harass the right-hand side, but soO is just so quick on the responses. And here in the middle,
God. An artillery line for the Aegis. I wouldn't want to go anywhere near that, and soO is going to want to back off it, even if he does attack it. Battle Cruiser operational.
That's what we've been waiting for. These battle cruisers, of course, have that ability to teleport anywhere on the map. It has a very long cooldown, but the moment they get in trouble, he just sends them home, repairs them up, and sends them back out on the map again.
And see how slow it is to actually get... Oh, the warp is in, yes! He saves it on 46 health. The timing impeccable right there from GuMiho. And now as soO, you got to be thinking, oh god, he's everywhere. He's all over the map. What on earth do I do? It seems like soO is almost stuck in a composition. The upgrades for his air are getting very high. What do you think here? Like, do you try and throw away some of units? He's going for a charge. It looks like he wants to trade out. He's going in there with a huge bank. He loses all of his banelings for basically nothing.
Yeah. Only those Thors on the ground are so important for chasing off those Corruptors. Thors with their single high-impact payload anti-air, they just do so much damage against these air units. Much better than the old Javelin missile launchers, which very few Terran players leave equipped anymore. Usually going for that single target firing ability. So adding the missile turrets as well, of course, works so well with the Liberators. The Corruptors just can't get in there. I really do feel the efficiency has to come from spellcasters, and this is something which soO traditionally neglects. He's a player who finally here in Legacy has started using a couple of Vipers, but that's it, it's only a couple.
The Locusts actually landed this time, looking to do some damage, but so many siege tanks, so well spread out, it isn't happening. And yet, it's like soO is repeating the same build over and over again. He's getting more Hydras, he added some more Corruptors, which is fine, but I'm concerned that, as you said, he hasn't gone for spellcaster units, and those swarm hosts are not really getting much done.
Yeah, I would want to see like 5-6 Vipers against such a big air army, but there's only 2, no Infestors as well. Of course, the fungal Blinding Cloud combo is the biggest one.
He finds a way around. He's going to be able to crack that base by the looks of it with that many Hydras. One cracked, another tank going down right there, and some of the battle cruisers moving across the map to try and deal with this, but the base falls. 17 workers killed. GuMiho not with a huge bank here. Maybe he can't necessarily afford to lose that, but those Hydras are going to go down on the way out by the looks of it.
That's a good way to punish this move forward. These Hellions, of course, very powerful against these Hydras with that plus damage to light. And at the same time, Locust is going to try and take advantage and
look at those
clear out
missile
some
turrets. What a well-fortified location. That is not the hill he wants to die on, but it will happen. He takes a few of the missile turrets out, very easily replaced. And there, we see that Great Aspire coming in finally.
GuMiho is trying to retake those bases. At the same time, he's pushing through the middle. You cannot underestimate the raw firepower in this army. The amount of Liberators, battle cruisers in there, not to mention the Hellions, tanks, and Thors on the ground. There's even SCVs pulled into the mix to repair this army. GuMiho has had enough. He is going to push on top of this base.
He's found the anvil. He has the hammer. He wants to lay it down, and that's some serious damage to the parasitic bombs. A lot of banelings moving in to try and clear out what's on the ground. But if the battle cruisers get involved, I don't really see what the Zerg can necessarily do. More BCs being added in, drone counts being absolutely ravaged at this point, and the Terran army continue to push forward. But I'm concerned about that army supply. 24 mutas coming in, a big switch along with the Corruptors. That might very well be too much necessarily for this army. It's being pushed back. It's going to have to warp those BCs out of here. Did GuMiho make a grave tactical error here?
soO just had so much bank to work with, and even though he lost his first army, his remax is so sudden. Of course, he took out one of GuMiho's bases. It hasn't been replaced down there on the bottom left of the map, and now we have 25 Mutalisks coming out here. These are 3-2 mutas, soon to be 3-3. The battle cruisers don't stand a chance against these Corruptors. They're trying to pull back to the missile turrets, but they're in huge trouble.
Oh my, what a turnaround. A switch on the back of a massive bank. We saw soO sticking to a build that wasn't working for the longest time, and then said, right, time to change. You know, I'm going to catch you out when you least expect it. You overcommitted to this. I'm able to punish you for this, and now serious trouble here for the Terran player. He doesn't have an army at this point. I don't see what he could possibly do from this position to come back. soO has made it happen after 25 minutes of absolute brutality here on Ascension Iron. GG!
What a comeback there from soO. Just hanging in there so patiently, defending all of GuMiho's multi-prong harassment, not getting flustered at all. And in the end, sealing the deal with a very decisive Mutalisk tech switch.
Oh, and he waited so long to do it as well. He waited to the point where he knew GuMiho had committed to a very specific composition of units. He knew he'd been able to pick off the Thors. He knew that the actual anti-air capability was not enough to deal with +3 Mutalisks backed up by that many Corruptors, and suddenly he's able to come out in one fell swoop. He annihilates the Terran army, crushes them, and now soO up 2-1 in this best of 5 series. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be taking a quick break. We're going to be back with yet more action from the World Championship Series Finals here at BlizzCon Day 1. Don't go anywhere.
Today, we retake our legacy. The ultimate real-time strategy game is going free to play. It's about time. StarCraft 2.
The 2017 StarCraft II World Championship Series Global Finals are brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this incredible series right here at the WCS Grand Finals at BlizzCon. What a series it's been so far. We currently have soO, after a brutal game, making his way up 2 games to 1. And now, GuMiho's tournament life is on the line. Can he pull it back? Will it happen? We're about to find out.
This has been a very closely fought match so far. soO there, really just showing some true grit, catching 2 planetary fortresses throughout that game. Brought himself to a 2-1 lead.
Absolutely. Can he do it again? Let's see what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. We're on Interloper, and I present to you, fighting out of the northwest corner in the blue trunks, playing Zerg, it is Ballistic soO! Versus his opponent with a mountain to climb to the southeast position in the red trucks, playing Terran, your GSL Season 2 champion, Psystorm GuMiho!
GuMiho is no doubt kicking himself over a few of those unforced errors in that last game. 2 planetary fortresses, one that went down because he didn't repair it, just barely died to the Locust, and then that later one, which he actually left just as a command center, forgot to upgrade to a planetary for about 2 minutes. It went down to that Hydra Baneling, and I feel like the combination of all of that lost income is really what made GuMiho feel so pressured to do that big push. Turned out soO had the answer, and he cleaned that game up really decisively, whereas I felt like up to that point, GuMiho was being more efficient. I thought he was slowly gaining himself some edges.
Yeah, I think what was interesting about that is that if we kept an eye on the work account throughout that whole game, soO's work account never really dipped all that much. Yeah, we were hyping up a little bit these Blue Flame Hellion run-bys, like, oh, 9 workers here, 8 workers here, but he's still looking, it's like, well, soO's still on 70. That doesn't really make much of a difference. He needed either more run-bys or more decisive drops in harassment to really hold soO's economy back. It never happened, and then suddenly soO has a bank of 6,000 minerals, 5,000 gas, and hey, surprise from the skies, what can you do about it?
Endless Zerg just popping out as quickly as you can knock him down. Of course, I doubt we're going to see such a long game here. This is Interloper. This is the rush map of the season. This is the map which is a little bit smaller, a little bit more aggressive usually, and already we see soO sneaking 2 Zerglings around the side of the map. There is a Marine on the way for Gumi, but it's going to be scary. This SCV building the natural command center is going to be very exposed. He's going to need to pull that very quickly.
Yep, he'll need to get that off, and he will be able to use the Marine to fend this off, and let's see if he's able to keep that working. Back goes the Marine. He's going to take 1, and he should be able to shut down the second without too much problem. Lovely micro from GuMiho. No problems at all, and you immediately see GuMiho establishing a defensive posture straight off the bat. He knows this is a rush-friendly map, and he knows that soO, if anybody, is going to try and take advantage of that.
Absolutely. I would not be surprised to see GuMiho here show some more of that Hellion, maybe Widowmine drop, but definitely into a Raven. Keep harassing, and I'd actually like to see Bio tank from him. I think on this small map, lots of choke points. Bio gives you a lot of maneuverability with the drops, but the tanks also give you that ability to do frontal pushes at the same time. We'll have to see if he agrees. It's going to be Hellions to start out, and soO, standard as ever, starting his creep spread, adding queens, and might be starting that Overlord speed. Might actually skip it this game. Hasn't actually started it up.
Well, I think if he's feeling pretty comfortable knowing what his opponent's doing, then you don't necessarily need that. You know, it is an investment, not a huge one, but it's something that we have seen Sting players in the past. I mean, particularly Game 1, you could argue that getting that Overlord speed so early actually hindered soO rather than helped him. We've got a Raven right out of the gate, accompanied by Hellions looking to potentially deny that creep spread, and of course to do a little bit of harassment and try and cause soO a little bit of consternation, a bit of a headache.
Third command center goes down at the front.
very
The
quick.
Overlord sees that, and that is all soO was waiting for. He already had a Roach Warren and a few extra Overlords on the way, and now he is 100% confident. I am just going to mass Roaches, make a ton of Zerglings, and try to bust the front. soO, here on Interloper, on the rush map, is going to try and kill GuMiho with a Roach Ravager Zergling push.
That he will, and we're going to need to see some good defensive units. Look at that, no tech lab. That means no tanks. That's dangerous. A reactor being added on rather than anything defensively. That's that shut down for 50 seconds. It's not going to be able to produce anything. Over the map it goes, and even if he had that army there, I have to wonder if it could stop that push anyway with its particular composition. It's going to be tricky.
Oh no, the starport is
That
not
is
going to build a Banshee. It's going to
Not
lift
what you
off.
want. No Liberator,
Really
nothing
bad.
along those lines. That could be a serious problem that we could see a very early end here to this series. The Roaches are on the way. I think GuMiho smells something's up. He absolutely does. And he sees Roaches. That is a nightmare scenario. He's got to pull back and pull off an excellent defense here. Can he make it happen?
He's going to try to buy time to get these bunkers up. Depots are going to raise. Orbital at the front has a ton of hit points. He's going to have 2 bunkers up. The siege tank, though, has only just started. He needs another 20 seconds to get that siege tank out. The Raven going to save its energy for the last possible moment. SCV's coming to repair. GuMiho needs to buy time. He needs to hang on right now.
Supply depot goes down. He wants to be very careful because if you lose out of the supply depot, he will be supply blocked. So that means no more units coming out. Look at that double supply drop, knowing he's got to keep building units. That's the only way he survives in this game. More pressure coming in. 18 links to follow. Another Ravager. He pulls back. He does have a siege tank now. He's got a couple of those bunkers up, but look at the amount of SCVs out here for line. And here we go. He's looking to try and end the game right here. Drops the auto turret in the back for the defense. A single bunker falls. The siege tank trying to contribute as much as he can. Does the turret have enough firepower to drive this back? There is so much Zerg, but for the moment, he's able to hold. But this is not the end. There is more coming in. There is more on the way. Medevac's now in the mix. He's got more Marines on the way. He started combat shield, but this is going to be a long defense. That siege tank must hold. That bunker must hold. He lands it. He kills the siege tank. No evacuation. This is looking brutal. Can he hold the bunker? Can he somehow hold that bunker? So many workers killed right here. He's trying his absolute best to do it. Another Ravager falls. Auto turret in the back. Maybe the savior. He pushes it back. He pushes it back.
GuMiho holds. More units are coming in, but another siege tank on the high ground.
There's only one Ravager. He's only got one Ravager. He doesn't have a way to deal with that siege tank right now. He's trying to. He gets the links past. Oh no, it wasn't closed. The gate was not closed. The door falls. Can he keep the bunker up? He cannot do it. Oh no, soO may very well have cracked it. There are still some more Marines, but the economic damage is absolutely crippling here for the Terran player. He will hold on as long as he possibly can. He may be able to push this back, but can he recover economically from this position?
He has just taken so much damage, and even though GuMiho is now safe at home, he has taken a huge hit to his economy. Even with those 3 command centers going, dropping mules, he is still far behind in the economy. Doesn't have any upgrades except that +1 bioweapons. Does have the stim. I think his combat shield's just finished up as well.
Combat shield, I believe. Yeah, he does have that. So he has some maneuverability, but he has to keep a lot of this army at home because, of course, another push could easily finish him off. So harassment might not even be an option here. And being bottled up on those 2 bases gives soO the freedom to do whatever he wants. Somehow GuMiho's going to find a way to do some damage.
I love the way soO is just threatening here, saying, you can't pick up and drop me or I might just run in and kill your siege tank, man.
He's picked up anyway. He's killed the Overlord. He immediately picks up boosts and goes, what a risk, but maybe a necessary risk right here. And sending the Raven back and actually pulls back his units, and soO's thinking, wait a minute, what if GuMiho does try this? This could be an equalizer.
Yeah, Raven's going to come in. It's going to have to just fly by these units, but they are a bit out of position. The Overlord spotted the drop coming in from the bottom side.
But can he get the reinforcements there on time? He's moving in. Of course, the Raven is going to be there to harass as well. The Marines have been deployed. There's the stim. He may have to get out of there. He certainly doesn't want to get hit by corrosive bile. Every unit counts right here for the Terran player.
Ooh, nice auto turret there, and the Raven will escape. A couple of workers are starting to fall as well as getting a lot of mining time damage. 2 siege tanks actually pushing across the map with a bunch of marines.
Wow.
That drop
Another
back
drop.
into the
Another
natural.
drop. He's back into the natural, and he's got an amazing choke point right here. He jumps on top of the Ravagers. He may need to get out there, but he is doing some significant damage. He's trying to pull his way back in this game. Look, he pushes it from the other side with 2 siege tanks and a choke point, bringing the rest of his marines in to actually try and kill that base. Is he going to make a comeback from this position? This siege position is fantastic. There are a few Ravagers in the mix. Will he be able to crack that siege tank contain?
Those siege tanks are right on top of each other. If
The
he
base is
lands
about
the
to fall.
vials
The base
just
is
right.
down.
Oh, this is going to be so close.
Oh
The
my God.
vials going down. The siege tanks will fall, but the base has already gone down. GuMiho, he's going to have to retreat.
Get out. Get out. Now you've done your damage, but he doesn't want to. He wants to get as much damage as possible. He drags him into siege tank range for yet another shot. The efficiency of GuMiho here, absolutely mind-blowing. Throwing soO for a loop. He refuses to back off. He refuses to give in. And look at it. He's starting to equalize the workers. The army count is equal. An upgrade lead for the Terran player for the moment.
Never die, says GuMiho. Comes back with that beautiful aggression. That Raven bouncing between the bases, dropping the auto turrets. The medevacs going out, going back in, going out, allowing those tanks to push forward. Beautiful execution from GuMiho, using his tech advantage to get himself back in this game.
And now he's got that third base moving on the way. Another push. He's going to try and go for the cancel there. That's quick step. Can he make it happen? Can he make it happen? He gets it and he's out of there. Going straight for the main base. The defense is out of position. Can he do some damage here?
GuMiho is on fire right now. He's clearing up creep on the south of the map. At the same time, takes out both of these overseers. And at any
Straight
moment,
into the mineral light. He's going to hammer as much as possible. 10 workers killed. 12 workers killed. Out he goes. Only 2 marines lost. Another attack from the bottom. And soO is being stretched to his limit here.
his Baneling Nest is even starting to bleed to death because there's no creep spread from that third going down. soO here is struggling to keep on top of the mobility that GuMiho has. This is always the weakness that you face as a Zerg. If you do a rush like that, yeah, you can have a lot more economy, you can have more army, but you're not going to have those same high-tech tools. And this is exactly what GuMiho took advantage of. He's just poking around, zero fear. He knows he can pick up every time the Zerg tries to shut him down.
GuMiho cruising at absolute hyper speed right now. He actually caught up briefly for the supply. He continues to harass and attack from 2 different angles simultaneously while the Zerg desperately tries to transition into more technology.
Here we go, another double drop comes in, focusing down those Ravagers. Each one of those is 100 gas.
That's a big deal. He gets out of there very quickly. He's going to go try and go for the mineral light. Collapses the rocks to save those Marines. What a move. This is unbelievable from GuMiho, looking for the comeback, and soO is falling behind in supply. Another big stim push forward. He's going to try and clean out the rest of that mineral light. Focus down the vulnerable units. All of those drones go down, and out he goes once again.
Wow, redropping in the natural. These Marines just trying to pick off everything they can. The double drop will finally fall to the Ro8 Hydra.
But what a valuable set of double drops. The amount of damage allowing GuMiho to regain the lead after almost being absolutely crushed and knocked out of this tournament within the first few minutes of this map.
Great decision by GuMiho as well to delay his upgrades. He left his +2 and his +1 armor behind. He said, these aren't important right now. I need to make sure I can defend you and then go onto the counter aggressive. But now that he's stabilized, he's secured his third base, he's going for those upgrades again while continuing to find openings over and over again.
And as you said, time and time again, the creep spread for soO has been very, very limited. He doesn't have a lot of visibility, and bear in mind the number of overlords and overseers that were knocked out as well. He's actually playing with a significant vision disadvantage at the moment, and that is allowing GuMiho to get in from all sides, all angles.
GuMiho going to prepare for a frontal push now. We'd love to time that out with his +2 weapons finishing. soO taking this frontal expansion. It is super exposed. GuMiho already has a really nice siege tank spread here. He's starting to edge forward. The corrosive vials trying to buy time, but there's only a couple of Banelings in the back there.
That's not going to be enough. There is no doubt about that. Potential for that base to go down, and soO is thinking to himself, I've got to give this base up. There's no way. If I attack into this, it's going to be brutal. He's now looking for the engagement. Now he thinks he has the units. Liberator has been deployed at the back right here. The tank's doing huge damage. Maybe not enough corrosive fire. Can he deploy those 2 extra liberators? Reinforcements in from the back. The Zerg army's being crushed. The Zerg army's on the run. GG! GuMiho!
Beautiful play. Bringing it back from the brink of defeat. He was so close to going out here and being knocked out of the WCS finals. but he is going to take it to the 5th and final map.
We saw it. We saw the legendary GuMiho hold. And now, game 5. Best of 1 sudden death scenario here between GuMiho, the Season 2 champion, and the man who once again took a 2nd place in that tournament. The revenge scenario for soO, but GuMiho looking to once again cement himself as soO's nemesis in StarCraft 2, and only one map will decide which one of those scenarios ends up being true.
I think those GGs on the screen were standing for something. I think it was Gummy God, because he is playing out of his mind right now. I love to see a player pull it back. It looked game-ending there, especially when that 2nd siege tank went down on the high ground. I thought he was done for, but somehow he finds the counter damage. soO, a little bit flustered after that one. Always hurts to
what a save.
have that.
What a save on the top right there, with focus fire on the Ravagers, ensuring the corrosive bile could not be used to pick off that 2nd siege tank. And it just cracked the remainder of the Ro8. So many workers sacrificed, but knowing that was the only way possible. Then with a quick counter attack, soO was considering trying to pin him there with the threat, but GuMiho said, no, I know this is my only avenue to get back into this game. And he executed it flawlessly at such a speed, soO could not keep up. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. The final map in this best of 5 series. It will be decided on Acolyte. And here we go. 2 equally matched contenders. 2 equally deserving potential champions here. And this map decides it all. Who will make it to the round of 4 to face off against Special? Fighting out of the northeast corner in the blue trunks, playing Zerg, Ballistic soO. Versus his opponent to the southwest position in the red trunks, playing Terran, now officially renamed Gummy God.
Going to be going into one of the biggest maps in the map pool for this final game. It's a map where we've seen a lot of drawn out long games. We've also seen some crazy rushes. These big maps, you usually see them defined by that extreme aggression to surprise your opponent or extreme economic play. That's because you get a free expansion in the back door, and that really entices players to take some risks, take some greedy plays against Serral in the group stage. We saw GuMiho do a double tank, triple medevac marine drop in the back door and just straight up win the game. Can't wait to see what the players have in store for us here.
Regardless of the fact that there is that pocket expansion, soO says, I get that spawning pool, I don't care. We're not going to get that 3 hatchery, it's not going to happen. I'll grab it a little bit later. I want those Zerglings available just to make sure that nothing goes horribly wrong here. GuMiho going to take that back expansion, of course. Why would he not?
It's going to be quite standard gas first opening, so GuMiho will be able to tech up quite quickly. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Hellions coming out. This map is just such a long push distance, and with classic bio play, that really is why players have moved away from it on this big map. They kind of just say it takes too long to get to the Zerg side of the map. But when you're playing mech, you're playing a slower style, you're happy to sit back, wait for the Zerg to come to you, and you can just slowly take those bases in the middle of the map. And it's really cool. If we do get to that extreme late game, the gold mineral expansions in the middle of the map tend to be very important focal points. Whoever can secure those gets a big advantage.
The welcome party is ready. What a catch, and out it goes. Oh, Lord. That was dicey.
Did, of course, lose that Reaper in one of those earlier games. A bit surprising. This time is going to keep that Reaper alive for now. And is just kind of building up. Has the 2nd gas down. Hellion production on the way. And it looks like GuMiho's most standard opening here. I'd love to see a Raven. There's great bits of dead space on the edges to come in from. A lot of angles to poke at the Zerg player.
What is interesting me right here is we've got, as you said, the most expansion-friendly map in the pool. soO has not taken a 3rd hatchery. Where is he going?
Yeah. Looks like he's going for Overlord speed again. You know, I like this. It's a big map. It's GuMiho. He's a crazy player. He has a lot of weird builds. Let's just get the absolute information. He's going to scout with those Overlords, see what's going on. And I think we'll see him move down. Yeah, he's sending a drone to take that third now. So he's still going to be playing economically, but not taking any risks. Not really deviating his build order at all. Just playing this like it's any other map is soO.
In goes Reaper and a couple of Hellions. They're going to cause some disruption here. Quick morph to avoid the death. And a Reaper grenade actually takes out his own Hellion there, I think. Trying to break that out, it did not work out. A couple of drones killed, but no major damage. And there's the nice scout from soO. He knows exactly what's coming his way, including that Widow Mine drop.
That's so frustrating there for GuMiho. Seeing the Widow Mines right as they pop out of the factory means soO, of course, building Spore Crawlers, knows he's going to need some detection to deal with that. And it's going to make it very difficult for GuMiho to put a dent in the Zerg work account.
soO will love the opportunity to get some economy going, such a perhaps a rare thing for soO, although we've seen in this series he's more than capable of it, despite having that particular propensity to build that aggressive opening and try and do as much damage as possible. He's kind of letting GuMiho dictate the pace at the moment and playing very reactively. And honestly, he's been shutting this down very, very well. And takes out both Widow Mines before detonation. Very well reacted by soO. No damage at all. I mean, he knew it was coming. He was well aware. Oh, he almost lost the medevac on the way out. That would have absolutely stung. Thankfully, that did not happen. soO's got great eyes on what's going on at the moment.
It's one thing to not do damage to the Zerg, it's another altogether to lose all of your harassment units, and that's essentially what's happened. Both Hellions and a Reaper have fallen, the Widow Mines have fallen, and that medevac even having to return home with next to no hit points. So far, everything is looking splendid for soO. He is solid as a rock, and it is on. The pressure is on for that Raven to find some damage. GuMiho needs to do something.
What GuMiho is actually doing is he's actually adding a very early fourth command center, if you could believe that. He's got it building at the moment, and he's playing a much more economic style than we've perhaps seen from him. Just putting a little bit of light pressure on.
Wow.
That CC on the way, only a single armory.
Just going to be taking that economic play. We'll be 5 factory mech, probably into 8 factory mech once again. We've got the second and third just on the way now. So it's going to be a very slow build-up. GuMiho not looking to do any game-ending moves for a while. Of course, we saw this double cyclone pressure, something which can be annoying to the Zerg player, but never something that does devastating damage. They're not going to kill drones very quickly.
No, they generally don't. They are irritating. They can focus down queens relatively quickly. Their range is perhaps a bit deceptive. And we're not seeing a huge amount of aggression from soO. What we're seeing is tech. He has that opening, he has that breathing room. He knows he's swatted down a couple of quick attacks and harassment. He knows he's safe to get into that comfortable position with the units he'd like to play with.
Of course, using these Ravens to clear up these creep tumors. Not having to use scans, this is always a big win for the Terran player. A great way to slow down that creep evolution. And he can use the Hellions to threaten the front, while maybe dropping a bunch of auto turrets at the back. Oh, that Raven getting very low. Oh. So does the medevac.
Indeed. In comes the cavalry to back that up just a little bit. GuMiho putting back just in the nick of time. Slow banelings. Good detonations regardless, though. Perhaps a little bit of an error for GuMiho to actually eat that. Regardless, he does need to back those expensive units off. He doesn't want to lose them to this.
These air units just a little bit too fragile right now for GuMiho. They've taken a ton of damage. Does drop some auto turrets in the natural.
Nicely cleaned up once again. soO is not messing around on that defense at all. He's doing incredibly well.
Somehow, despite such good defense, GuMiho up in supply right now, up in work account as well. He's just got such good macro behind this. Of course, being able to build your third command center on location, that is not something you get to do against Zerg very often.
Yeah, there's a bit of correction there. It was, in fact, the third CC going down on location. And, of course, that saves you quite a lot of time. You don't need to worry about moving it. You get your orbital command down much quicker. That means, you know, an extra mule in the game. That can make all the difference at this level.
More and more factories are on the way. Blue Flame, as well as those mech upgrades starting now. Of course, this is the single armory to start off. It's a bit of a slower upgrade style. He'll be going for +2 weapons and then starting to add on the armor as that second armory comes in. And Hellions probing around the edges. as soO gets to a 4th and especially a 5th base, this is where Hellion run-bys really start to thrive on this map. At this point, there's only really one frontal entrance. If you go in there, there's going to be Hydras, Zerglings, Banelings waiting for you. You're just going to waste your units. But GuMiho, he's expanding, he's building up, and I can tell you, the moment soO starts pressing further onto this map, GuMiho's going to be hitting him from the sides, hitting him from the rear, Liberator harassment, Hellions, the whole shebang.
Ooh, Swarm Host coming out a little quicker than I would have perhaps expected right here from soO. Interesting, thinking GuMiho is in a position where he could be vulnerable to that.
Neither player wanting to take any risks in a game 5 here. Not wanting to gamble everything on a half-hearted assault. Wanting to go for the sure thing here in the macro game. We've got Swarm Hosts coming in now for soO. 4th base on location now for GuMiho.
Macro hatchery as well. Wow, this is honestly the exact game that I want to see as the final of this best of 5. I want to see these guys rip each other to shreds over the course of 30 minutes. It will be highly entertaining.
A true test of skill here to see how the players adjust, not just when they're doing one big attack, but fighting over many minutes, looking for little edges. And real gentleman's agreement over the last couple of minutes, saying, all right, build up on your side of the map, I'll build up on my side.
Yeah, did we actually put this on 10-minute no rush mode? I think one way or the other, they are just, as you said, just giving each other space to work with and build up the tech, and we see that nice early hive coming out as well.
Yeah, I mean, if one of them overextends, the other one's going to pounce on it, so I definitely can see why both players are sitting back here, trying to just build things up calmly. Here comes the first huge push for GuMiho. He's got a nice Viking count. Remember, there's no Vipers out just yet.
Nope. No,
a couple of Liberators just sailing off to their death there. A bit of miscontrol.
Yeah, unfortunate, considering they can be quite effective when backed up by Vikings to take out those flying locusts before they end up landing on the tanks. And notice the number of CCs he built on the back of that. Knowing he was pretty much maxed, he's like, all right, I'm going to throw down 2 more command centers. I'm going to get as much macro in as possible. I'm going to prepare for that. And now, of course, without the AoE from the Liberators, they're going to get in there, but a lot of blue flame ensures only a single tank falls.
I'll tell you what Locusts have nightmares about. It is Blue Flame Hellbats. They just roast them instantly. Only one siege tank does fall. The tanks in Hellbats starting to push in those Banelings. Not quite morphed just yet. Auto turrets dropping everywhere. They are going to finish. The Hellbats are actually so clumped.
Oh, that's the whole meaning of that meantime. A counter-attack right here with Hydralisk to Baneling. That CC is probably going to go down. I think GuMiho is glad for the spares right now, but that was a nice counter-attack indeed. But he's going to trade it for a base on his side as well, with the siege tanks hammering home the points.
Good trade for soO, though. He has the 5th base up. He's saved his workers. He's transferred most of them over. He is much happier to trade a base for a base than GuMiho is. Of course, GuMiho, as you said, has spare command centers behind that. He will be able to float them out in the near future. The big important part, though, is getting those siege tanks home without the Hellbats left over. He's got to run. Those tanks have got to get out of there. The Hydras are on the bottom side. These Locusts trying to sandwich from the top.
He's going to leave one. Yeah, well, that was a good decision rather than have them land on the whole tank force. But look at this coming in from the flank. There's really no way to escape from this position. He's going to have to micro as much as he can. He gets out of there with 2. Everything else may very well fall if he continues to commit, and he should. All those tanks are going to go down. That is costly.
That was a big loss there for GuMiho.
Even worse. Even the evacuation shuttle shot down with brutality. No mercy here from the Zerg player. And now he's thinking, where are all your tanks? I'm thinking it's time to attack.
Here on this stage with so much on the line with this game. This is where we see the true mettle of these players, who can keep it together when there is so much pressure on. It is, of course, a spot in the semi-finals that they're fighting for. A ton of money, a ton of pride, and soO looking to finish this game off. He wants to come forward with this wave of Locusts.
Thor is here, and the Hellions backing that up as well. The tank count is surprisingly high, and I think soO was also shocked to see that many tanks after having wiped out so many on the front line. GuMiho's production with that 8 factory setup is absolutely monolithic at the moment.
A lot of tanks coming out, adding a few more Liberators in. Some uncharacteristic, unforced errors from GuMiho recently, but hey, this is what he's good at. Hellions catching some Hydras, tanks and Thors coming into support. He wants to trap these Hydras out of the map. The Swarm Hosts are going to have to come down and try to pincer the Terran army from the other side, maybe turn the trap around on top of GuMiho, but it's kind of scary. It's off creep. It is pretty far out on the map.
And in fact, of course, he's actually going to push to the north instead, put a bit of space between him and those Hydralisks, putting a rear guard of tanks in position. Down come the Locusts. They are quickly roasted roasted by those blue flame Hellbats, and now that's another 40-second cooldown to deal with. Those tanks will be shot down, of course, by the Hydralisk, but look at the size of this push. That base is looking very much forfeit right now. And some Swarm hosts are going to get caught in the process on the way out. There is no escape.
That army is going to go down, but a lot of Hydras here. Luckily, that is a planetary fortress. With the repair, it will hold strong. Of course, soO's Hydra attack not going to find its way into the production, but once again, Baneling's morphing. Hellbat's a little bit clumped up. Tanks aren't sieged. It is all going to be about this next Locust wave. soO needs to break this push with these Locusts.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of Hellbats on the board at all, and there's no real escape for that. The Banelings crash in, even into the back. They hit a huge number of siege tanks at the rear. The Hydralisk come into flank. What's left of the Terran army continues to hold, but that was devastating. Those will take time to replenish. GuMiho's bank is gone now, having had to replace those units.
We've got something on the north side of the map. I was just going to say, and the one thing that's missing here is GuMiho is focusing so much on the front. He's so busy dealing with those counterattacks. He's not able to deal harassment at the same time. And even though soO's work account, I mean, he's on the precipice. He's barely on 4 bases. He's got 70 workers. One good Hellion run by could just ruin soO, but he's so good at distracting GuMiho on the back foot. And GuMiho's not quite finding the engagements he wants. Here we go.
All right, Liberator opening fire. It's going to take out 6, 7 workers in the process. That must be answered. And of course, then he can attack from the ground. Now he's starting to split up those Hellions to try and do the job, do some harassment damage. And like you said, he only needs to do a little bit just to throw this economy off guard. Down comes another massive wave of Locusts, but it's not going to get a lot done. It only kills a few Hellions. That's not a huge deal. And now that gives another 40 or so seconds of freedom to GuMiho to find another angle of attack.
GuMiho, of course, is going to be expanding to a 5th base as well. soO trying to expand to a 5th and a 6th. Has failed to really establish those so far this game. soO realizing his work account's not great. He's going to be trying to add some more workers on here. And as this goes on, it is a real slugfest. Neither player going to late game. They can't afford it. They're both kind of broke right now. Yes, soO's got a little bit of bank, but he doesn't have massive mining. One bad fight could spell disaster for either of these players.
I'm seeing the Zerg splitting up on both sides of the map right here. That's a potentially vulnerable base. There's a few morphing Hellions. That tank's going to get picked up on the way. That base is forfeit, but will we just see a straight-up trade here? And how much damage will that Locust wave do? Potentially quite a lot. And look at the amount of SCVs. They're trapped. Evacuate. Get 8 of them out now. That's not going to happen. That medevac's going to get shut down before that happens. Goodbye. We hardly knew ye. Worker line. It is gone. That is devastating. GuMiho falling to 40 workers.
The economy just gets trashed there, and once again, GuMiho committing his entire army to a single push. He takes out a hatchery, but it's essentially meaningless in the large picture. One hatchery is not that important because soO is expanding in multiple areas. He says, if I can't deal with your push, I sacrifice the base, I pull the workers away, and I backstab you. He is playing Zerg the way it is meant to be played, and GuMiho is the one coming out the worst for wear. After all of these engagements, GuMiho struggling, broke, unable to remax out, and the Hydra's coming back in, finding even more SCVs.
Yeah, more damage, and look at the upgrades as well. In the meantime, soO's been able to get these upgrades, whereas GuMiho has not. He's only on +1 armor. That makes those tanks extremely vulnerable. More workers killed. They're falling very, very quickly now, and this is becoming a serious problem. GuMiho is starting to fall apart. He has to somehow get a decisive defense and counterattack. How can he do so when soO continues to attack on 2 fronts?
soO's Hydra is gaining so much value. I think they might have stayed a little bit too long now, trying to get those Ravens. The tanks and Hellions should be able to chase them down. But
look at the positioning on those swarm hosts right here. Potentially huge damage to the main base. He may start to lose production.
Still a large army out for Gumi, but as time goes on, he's not going to be able to replenish his army. He's just lost way too many workers. He's lost his 5th base. The 4th planetary going to be forced to mass repair here. Those Locusts dishing out the hurt. Also focus firing on the SCVs. Great micro from soO.
Yep, that's a good way to do it. Otherwise, that would have been effectively wasted. 8 more workers. That means a lot. Look, he's down to 23. The army supply is in favor of GuMiho, but can he make something work here? If he could get all the swarm hosts, if he could catch them out of position, commit to a good attack, that would be nice. But the bank of soO is what worries me now. Even if those swarm hosts fall, he could just follow it up with a swell of something, and those upgrades are about to kick in as well. This is looking dire potentially for the Terran player. Can he make this massive push work?
It is still a huge army.
My God. Here it is. Bailey's coming in forth like blinding cloud right in the center. There are tanks behind that. Will there be enough firepower to hold on to this? The Hydra's take an absolute pounding. So does the Terran army. And look at the loss. 77 to 113. Ling's following this up right here. There is not a lot of mech left, and there's not a lot of money to replace it either. GuMiho falls to 70 supply. soO looking for his vengeance. GG! Ladies and gentlemen, he does it! soO finally finding that revenge he's been looking for so very, very long, and after an incredible, epic series of games, GuMiho's determination was not quite enough. soO, the veteran, makes it happen, advances to the round of 4. What a series from both sides. Absolutely incredible. Now we're going to hear from the victor of that series, a hard-fought series indeed. We're going to hear it from soO, and Smix will be leading that interview. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Total Biscuit. Congratulations, soO. This is your second WCS Global Finals, but your first time in the top 4. How much does that mean to you? And also, how much does it mean to do that while getting revenge on GuMiho? 일단 이번 블리츠컨이 두 번째인데 4강 진출은 처음이에요. 그 진출한 소감이랑 그리고 고병재 선수의 복수한 소감 얘기해 주세요.
일단 제가 블리츠컨 준비하는 동안에 왠지 느낌이 고병재 선수랑 8강에서 할 것 같은 그냥 단순한 감이 있었는데, 그것 때문에 고병재 선수에 대해 연구를 좀 많이 했었던 게 좀 도움이 많이 됐던 것 같고, 이렇게 4강까지 오게 됐으니까 또 우승까지 노려보도록 하겠습니다.
So he says, as I prepared for the WCS Global Finals, I somehow got this feeling that I would be facing GuMiho in that round of 8. I just had that sense, and because of that, I've been researching and studying his style a lot. And I think that really paid off as I faced him in the quarterfinals as I thought and was able to win, and that's why I was able to do so. And I need to ask you about that 4th game, because in the beginning, it looked really good for you after your attack, but as the game went on, it slipped away. So tell us what went wrong there. 그 네 번째 경기에 대해서 물어보고 싶은데 초반에는 되게 좋아 보였어요. 근데 어쩌다 보니 경기를 지게 됐는데 뭐가 잘못된 것 같으세요?
제가 이제 이겼다고 생각을 해서 좀 방심을 한 것 같아요. 네, 그게 좀 이제 이겼다고 생각이 들면서 좀 이제 그 뒤에 이겼을 때 그 상황을 상상하게 돼서 좀 자만했던 게 아닌가 싶어요.
So he says, because of my early advantage, I already thought that I had won the game, and because of that, I definitely think I lost a bit of focus. I started just thinking about what it means to win and thinking forward, and I definitely got a little bit too cocky there, and I think that's why that 4th game slipped away from me. And now moving forward, you're going to be facing Special in the semifinal, and Special told us in his interview that he wants to face you because he really likes you and that you are a close friend. Well, he got his wish. He will be facing you. So what are your thoughts on how that match will go?
일단 4강에서 스페셜 선수를 만나게 됐는데 인터뷰에서 스페셜 선수가 어연수 선수랑 친해서 4강에서 만나고 싶다라고 얘기를 했는데 그 경기는 어떻게 될 건지 예상을 어떻게 하는지 얘기해 주세요.
일단 이레이저 선수가 무조건 저랑 하고 싶다고 저한테 그렇게 도발을 했는데 그걸 먼저 떨어져서 좀 안타깝고 이제 그 스페셜 선수를 만나게 됐는데 친해서 연습도 많이 했거든요 이번에. 그래가지고 좀 서로 스타일을 잘 알기 때문에 좀 힘들 수도 있을 것 같지만 그래도 네, 뭐 한국인의 자존심을 보여드리도록 하겠습니다.
So he says, first of all, I want to say that it's a shame that Laser wasn't able to move forward because he had been telling me to my face that he really wanted to face me in the semifinal and that he was looking forward to it. So I think it's a shame that he wasn't able to keep that promise. But speaking about Special, as Special mentioned, I am very close to him, and because of that, we've been practicing a lot together. So we know each other's styles very well. So I think it could be a difficult series, but that being said, I need to keep the Koreans' pride alive and defeat him. So
so I'm going to ensure that I do so. So congratulations again, soO. Best of luck in the top 4. And with that, we have our first semifinal match set. It will be Special versus soO.